Are you
Amazing.
from Bogota?
I'm Colombian, yeah. I was brought up in a small town west of Bogota.
Okay.
But I've been living here for 25 years, so I'm just like,
Beautiful.
Rolo is what they call us,
There
you know?
There you go.
So, quite the tour, huh?
Yeah.
It's crazy, man. I
Absolutely,
mean,
yeah.
sold out shit all over the place.
Yeah.
I mean, it's fun to see that happen. You know, it's amazing because it gives you this idea of a really three-dimensional artist, you know.
Oh, that's nice. Thanks.
Which is amazing, you know.
Yeah, we've had a good, obviously last year we worked all year touring around and had a lot of fun doing that. So it's kind of fun to, come back on sort of like an off year. We don't have like a new album out and try to, work on the show. And it's been great.
Is this the biggest one you've done?
Yeah, for sure. I would say, absolutely.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Do you feel like, and I'm not sure, I had it in my notes right here, I didn't know how to formulate this question, but I was wondering if you are beginning to realize that this isn't just a hobby, or has this always been a part of your career as an artist?
Yeah, it's definitely been something I have been interested in, but it definitely feels a little bit less like a hobby, and the opportunities that are kind of cropping up are exciting, and the amount of work that we're putting into it also is not like, it is like a hobbyist amount of work, but we're taking it quite seriously. So yeah, it's sort of fun to see how it's transformed, and how your vision for the project sort of updates as you're working on something like that too. And it's changing, I think, for me, what I imagine it to be, and this, I think that's great though. That's really exciting.
I know, and it's so amazing to see it evolve, album through album through album, because the songwriting in this album is so layered. You know,
thanks.
it feels so deep and so profound. And I'm not saying the other two albums weren't that good, but it does feel personal and intimate, and at the same time you get to turn music into a collective feeling, which makes it even more interesting and more professional, you know.
I appreciate you saying that. Thanks.
Yeah.
That was definitely the goal, was to focus on the songs first, and then to kind of work backwards from there, because the album before was like pretty, production heavy.
Yeah.
And so I kind of wanted to, when I sat down to do some of the live shows, it was like, you can't even like play these songs, sort of. You have to have the whole production, or else it doesn't really work. Yeah, that was a goal. That's cool that reads, though. I love your sweater, by the way.
Thank you so much,
nice.
man. This is just an Urban Outfitters thing.
Colors are so good.
Thanks. When you talk about it being production heavy, tell me more about why it was so production heavy back then. Was it because you didn't have a lot of time? Was it because you just wanted it to kick back and just, still be part of a hobby?
It was because we were doing it during the pandemic, I think, mostly.
Okay.
It was also coming off of like working, it's funny, every single thing that you do, I feel like every artist feels that way, is a reaction to the thing that you had done before.
Yeah.
And I felt like I really wanted to just like go deep in on production. And like I said, it was the pandemic. Me and Adam, we were working remotely, and start these ideas and then finish them online together. So yeah, that's kind of how that thing came to be. It was like a product of its circumstances, I guess.
Do you feel like you're a better songwriter now?
Yeah, I'd like to think so. But you always still got to remember to get out of your way.
How do you do that? I mean, it's pretty...
I don't know. Because there's a fine line of like, you want to follow your instinct, and you want to... But I do think that there's a certain point where you're like, okay, let that rest, or like, that might be done. Like, you might not have to re-record that instrument. Maybe the kind of way that it is actually the best way. But how do you know? It's really just all your taste and trusting the people that you work with. And I still feel like I'm figuring out how to do that.
When you finish writing a song, how do you know it's done?
Yeah, it's a similar thing. Well, this past time, there was, for me, like a real... I guess you just know. You have a sense, and trusting that sense.
I'm asking this because there's so many songs on this album. You know, it's so, as I said before, it's so layered, but at the same time, so prolific. And as I listened to it over and over again, I thought, because so many other artists struggle with the creative output, but you seem to have so much of it, you know. And at the same time, once you listen to the album, you say every single song is good. How do you pull it off? I guess that's why my question rose.
Well, the experience of making the album and then the bonus album, the deluxe and stuff,
Yeah.
it was all a process of like 2 years, so it was a long time. And so we were working at Electric Lady, this amazing studio in New York.
Yeah.
And we just did a lot of work, I guess. We were in there all the time. And, you know, we were finishing things, not finishing things. And we basically kind of built out this massive bunch of ideas that, you know, in the final 6 months before that album came out, we were like, okay, we got to like kind of pick our favorites. Something that we did that was kind of interesting that I don't know if we'll do again. We took it was like maybe the contenders. It was maybe 35 contenders for this album. And we made a link, like a Dropbox link.
Yeah.
And then we made a Google sheet. So people, our friends and family could vote. We said, what's your favorite idea? Which ones do you think we should put on this album? And that was really interesting to see kind of just which songs were speaking to people. But also, that's not why you should be doing it. You should also be doing it because it's what you think should be on the album. So it was fun to use that information. It was fun to break that information. But I think if we were to do it again, I think maybe keep it a little tighter, a little longer. And I guess that's really what led to putting out the other songs, the songs from the deluxe. Is like we had all this music that we put out, and there were certain songs that I was just like, man, this doesn't feel like a new album. It's not a different project. It's kind of like the same body of work, so why not just put something else out that's like, hey, here's what else was going on.
When you listen to the deluxe edition, the second album, you do find yourself with a totally different take on the music. Like the very first sounded to me like it was very retro, you know, and the second wave of songs is like very new romantic kind of wave, or new wave-ish. Am I right? Or can you break it down that way?
Not really, not for me. I think it was just like some of the songs that are on the deluxe are like some of the oldest songs that didn't make it. I'm certainly influenced by music from the past and the way that they created music, and kind of a huge influence on this album was working in a studio. Again, a reaction to the album before, which was like, we're working online. It would be like you and me were like, you know, virtually doing this album.
Yeah.
It was all about being like together in the room, using the tools that they used from the past to kind of like get the sounds that they got. And so that was a big part of the process, and I think the sound for both of them. But it wasn't intentional, I guess. It's just...
it was just the way it happened.
Yeah, it's just the way that happened.
Yeah. That's crazy because now that you mention influences, I was also very surprised by how you wear those influences on your sleeve. I mean, it's just out there for you to listen to. Those of us who have been listening to music long enough can actually familiarize with your sensibility, but at the same time, you find a way to make it profoundly authentic. You know, it's really cool stuff.
That's nice.
Tell me about the experience working at Electric Lady, what that's like.
Yeah, that's a huge part of the way that, I don't know why it sounds the way that it sounds. John Rooney, who we worked with for the whole album, Austin Christie, I mean, it was like, and the identity of the actual space itself and the gear that they have. Yeah, it was just, that's why it sounds the way that it does, and I love that. And I guess going back to what you said about wearing your influences on your sleeve, it's, you know, it's definitely something that I know that I do, and I think it's a part of me still exploring to find really what my sound is, because what better way than to sort of try a bunch of different things on. You know?
Did being at Electric Lady help get those juices flowing, those creative juices flowing? Is there magical vibe going on in those spaces?
There's a magical vibe.
Yeah.
Definitely. There's a reason why so many amazing albums from the past, modern albums, have kind of come out of this place. It's just, it's just set up in a way that feels really freeing and dynamic. And when I think about my time recording there, I think a lot about light, actually, because there's a couple different spaces where you can work in, and it's very uncommon for there to be natural light in a studio, and there's natural light kind of that can pour in. So I think a lot about that, and it's in the heart of New York City too, which is like you walk out the door and you're in Greenwich Village, so it's very stimulating in that way. Yeah.
You start off your album with talking about T-Rex.
Yeah.
I want you to talk to me about that song.
Sure.
Talking about Mark Bolan was,
Yeah.
he figured it out. And I was like, yep, you're right, man.
Yeah.
He did. Why did you start the album off with that one? I mean, that's a banger.
That song was recorded kind of tangentially with End of Beginning, actually.
Wow.
And that was the first time we had worked in a studio, and working on that song was like, oh, we should do stuff from scratch in the studio. So that was one that didn't make it on that album, didn't make it on The Crux, and it was pretty, I mean, it's kind of the same. We didn't really re-record it, but I kind of just love the concept of the song being like, hey, I gotta like show you this thing that I love, and maybe you're gonna love it too. That's kind of the point of the whole song. And it just feels sort of like an homage to those power pop classic 70s tracks.
That's so awesome.
Yeah.
What do you like about Mark Bolan the most?
Oh, he's like a chameleon. I feel like you kind of can't pin him down. You like don't know who exactly he is, and he seems to be, doesn't really care what anybody else thinks.
I know, there was so much myth about that guy, man.
Yeah.
Going on back in the 70s, and
Yeah.
the way he influenced even Bowie was just crazy.
Yeah,
you know?
absolutely.
Yeah.
And still to this day, people are so influenced by him. And his sound is so like slinky and kind of swampy, and it just feels
And
good.
it's fun because
Yeah.
he comes around at a time where rock and roll music was sort of stale and boring, and it was like beginning to turn progressive. I'm not saying I have nothing against progressive rock, but back then when Bolan comes in the scene, it was like Emerson, Lake and Palmer, and Yes, and all these things, classical maneuvers and stuff, and he just comes back to the old rock and roll formula. It was really crazy.
I like fun.
It is. I mean,
It's nice to have that in your music.
I know, and
Yeah.
that's why I think it's such a great choice to open the album, because it gives you that idea. You're entering your world because it's also a very personal album, but at the same time, you feel at home. You feel like you're about to experience an adventure.
That's so cool.
Yeah, it definitely was very comforting and satisfying and challenging at the same time to hear you talk about these things. And also, like, my daughter is just crazy about the entire record, and she's also so much into 70s rock, so she was so much in tune with that.
Yeah, I mean, it's something that I'm really interested in, and I just like, I don't know, it feels very unfiltered music from that time. And the unfiltered aspect of the music is what makes it so fun. There's like all these kind of like weird things that maybe were mistakes or maybe informed the way that they made the music, and it's very easy to kind of make everything perfect now. So trying to keep it a little rough and not perfect, and like, oh, your voice, it's a little, but let's just go with it. I like that too.
Yeah, let's talk a bit about the recording process and how you avoided the search for perfection that takes place in pop so much, and rock, and everywhere these days.
Definitely. Yeah, I think, it's hard.
How did you steer away? Could you do it?
You can do it to a certain extent. But also, in my mind, you're always sort of like, well, if you're like listening to something and then you flip to this, you do want there to be some comparable elements of like modern production. You don't want it to be totally like in the past. So I think it's about just trying to marry those two things, and a lot of it is also like challenging yourself to be as open as you can be, and trying to, not let your self-consciousness like dominate your decisions of like, oh god, let's tune the shit out of this thing, and obviously there's like some tuning going on, and there's you're moving stuff, but just trying to keep like the spirit of the thing and not do anything extra that you don't really feel you need to do. And that's really nice when you have good friends around you and good people around you, because like I think they can help inform those decisions. Like having Adam and Wes and my friend Jake and all the guys from the band, and people were coming in and during the recording process, and they're like, Jake, what do you think? Should we do that? He's like, I actually think it's really good. So then they're like, okay, let's go with it. If Jake likes it, then we're gonna go with it.
How many people do you let into your creative world for those things? Is there a tight circle of people, or
no? Open it up. I feel like it's really fun to have. I mean, certain times certain times obviously, but if there's like a friend in town, you're like, absolutely, come on by. And we're also recording at this crazy place, and a lot of people know about this place, so people want to see it.
Of course.
And how cool is it that we're there? So of course, come through and check it out. And yeah, I mean, people ended up also on the album that way. Like when Dalton, who I played in a band with, Post Animal, came through. Like he's playing bass on the track, and it just like happens in a fun way. Because there's also great stories of like that's how music is made too. So encourage that as much as possible.
I was reading some of the stuff that was written about the album once it was out, and some of it had to do with the album being a concept album.
Yeah.
Is this right? Is this true?
Not really.
No? It's not about this hotel thing, because I've read some stuff.
I think that kind of got sort of
misinterpreted, maybe?
A little bit. I mean, when we were designing, me and Jake Hirschland worked together on the cover with Neil Krug, and so we wanted to develop like a visual sort of feeling for the whole album, so it can kind of like survive in this thing. Yeah. But when I was like setting out to make this music, I wasn't thinking about that at all. But it was kind of this nice way to like kind of package the thing, and I think it really did inform the visuals and make sense for the themes of the album. But it's not, I think, a quote unquote concept album.
All right, okay.
In the traditional sense.
Well, listen, have a lot of fun in Bogota.
I will. I have been.
Have a great show.
Thank you.
Thank you for taking the time to talk to me today. It's been great meeting you.
Yeah, you too. So many good questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate your taking them.
Absolutely.